charge. Biden's own testing experts warned a surge was coming. I'm no doctor, but I can read. And anyone who has been alive and is literate knows that every virus has mutations and variants. Team Biden would eventually announce in January that at-home tests were on the way. And when they finally did arrive, weeks later, Omicron had spread so rapidly that it had nowhere else to go and petered out. By the end of February, daily cases in the U.S. were below 50,000, a relatively low number when considering the country was averaging more than 500,000 1 month prior. The billions spent on the testing were essentially wasted since the tests were largely no longer needed. The lesson here is that no one person, especially someone as inept as Joe Biden has proven to be throughout his entire existence as a lawmaker and candidate, should ever promise to control a virus, to stop a virus. And when this president says he's going to conquer cancer, it's such utter bullshit to the point of insulting by playing with people's emotions like that for a cheap applause line and somehow attempting to appear magnanimous. By every metric, America has arguably the worst president of the television era residing in the Oval Office, at least when he isn't in Delaware. This isn't some bloviating opinion, by the way. It's based on basic facts. Inflation at a 40-year high. Gas prices are at their highest point ever. Murders at a 25-year high. Illegal border crossings at an all-time high. Parents are furious over an increasingly extremist education agenda for our kids. The world is increasingly unstable with our enemies more brazen, more emboldened, more dangerous. We'll go into more detail on these metrics later, but it's truly hard to see where this president is succeeding or even shooting par. Democrats in the media insisted up and down for 5 years before Joe Biden became President Biden that Trump would lie like a person breathes. They told us his kids were corrupt. They said he didn't care about immigrants despite being married to one. They said he spit on our soldiers' graves. They claimed he was a cognitive mess, that his rhetoric would cause World War III. He would start a worldwide recession. Here's looking at you, Paul Krugman. And that he would only talk to state-run media. And he would embarrass us abroad while keeping a light schedule. All of this sentiment and these portrayals were correctly applied to the U.S. president, that's for certain. Except they don't apply to Trump, but to his successor. So the questions many have about the current president, and none of them are comforting, are: is Joe Biden allowing his presidency to be run by other people, his chief of staff, Ron Klain, his domestic policy advisor, Susan Rice, his former boss, Barack Obama, his wife, Jill Biden, because he's mentally checked out? Or is he your typical D.C. swamp creature who evolves, the media's term for Democrats who flip-flop on issues as polling on said issue shifts? Is Joe Biden really this liberal by insisting on expanding government to unprecedented levels, spending our way out of inflation, opening our borders, and teaching kids more about race and sex than reading, writing, science, and math? Whose ship is this anyway? And are many in the media covering for Joe Biden by making excuses for his myriad of failures because they think their viewers and readers are stupid, uninformed? Or because they're fooling themselves thanks to the conformity of thought that exists in the political media hubs of deep, deep blue New York City and Washington? And finally, is Team Biden just plain unlucky, or is everything Americans are seeing and feeling actually the administration's fault? According to the president, everything that has gone wrong in this country is everyone else's fault. Inflation is on Putin. Gas prices? Also Putin, along with evil U.S. oil companies. The border? Trump left it wide open, according to his successor. It's enough to make your hair hurt. Here's my promise to you. If I'm elected president, I will always choose to unite rather than divide. I'll take responsibility instead of blaming others.